Lesson 112. Our new word for this lesson is yet another noun of the third declension, in this case a feminine noun, and that's urbs, urbis, which means city. We have lots of English words related to this noun. We have words like urban and urbane, and even words like suburbs. Literally, suburbs means under the city or at the foot of the city. In the ancient world, oftentimes cities would be set upon a hill, and so the prefix sub, S-U-B, can mean at the foot of, in the sense of at the foot of a mountain. So if you have someone living down at the bottom of a hill that a city is on, you could say that they're sub urbe, at the foot of the city. And I think that's where we get our English word suburbs from, isn't it, Michael?
Right, because they're sub urbe.
So the real business we need to do here in Lesson 112 is to address the subject of the I stem third declension noun.
That's right.
By the way, the B in URPS sounds kind of like a P, URPS.
So let's talk about this I stem business.
Yes, our new word for this lesson has a special characteristic that we need to talk about. URPS is what we call an I stem noun, okay? It's a third declension I stem. And what does it mean that a third declension noun is an I stem?
Well, it means that in certain forms, in addition to the ending that we're accustomed to seeing, we'll see an I.
That's right, Michael. In the genitive plural form, we're going to see the letter I in a place where we ordinarily would not expect to see the letter I.
Right, so rather than urbum, which you might be expecting, the genitive plural of the noun urbs is actually urbium.
And here's why it's weird, is because urbs is the nominative singular, right? The genitive singular is urbis. If we remove the ending from the genitive singular, that's is, we get urb, and that's the genitive stem. So you have urb, and we know that in the third declension, the genitive plural ending is So let's take the genitive stem, urb, and let's add and we get urbum. But that's not the genitive plural form of this particular noun. The genitive plural form is urbium. So that's the unexpected I. That's where the I is that would not be there in other third declension nouns. And here's the way it was explained to me. For those of you who are curious about, grammar, philology, those of you who want to get down into the dirty details, right? The way it was explained to me is that the reason these are called I stem nouns is because the stem of the noun, what we have been calling the genitive stem, technically speaking, has the letter I at the end of it. So there's an extra I there that other third declension nouns don't have in their stem. So technically speaking, the genitive stem here is urbi, and then with the is ending for the genitive singular, you get urbiis, but those two I's that are together there, they collapse down just into one I, and you get urbis. For the dative singular, you get urbii with two I's, but they collapse down into one I, so it's just urbi.
So speaking of the dative case, did you know that there's a very famous speech titled Urbi et Orbi, Bill?
I did not know that.
Right. So every year, usually on Easter and Christmas, the Pope in Rome, the leader of the Catholic Church, gives a celebratory kind of speech. And so Urbi et Orbi means to the city and to the world.
Oh, I see. Urbi et Orbi.
Exactly.
So this extra I that's at the end of the stem usually goes away. But in the genitive plural, the I at the end of the stem does not get blended in with the U. In the genitive plural, the I stays put, and so you get the ending being added to the true I stem, which is urbi. That's why they call it an I stem noun, because it has an I at the end of the stem. It usually goes away, but in the genitive plural, it stays put and you get urbium. That's the way it was explained to me. That's the reasoning behind why I stem third declension nouns function the way they do. Have you heard a similar story, Michael?
I have. And, if that's a little bit too much information, maybe too long of a story for
Which
you.
it probably is.
Well, if it is, don't feel too bad if you're confused right now. Even the Romans sometimes, especially if you look at ancient inscriptions, had trouble with this and would forget or add extra I's in places that weren't really standard spelling. So just do your best to recognize these I-stem forms, and you'll sort of pick up over time as you learn more I-stem words when and where they appear.
So one last quick word here before we leave the lesson. If you want to use the genitive plural form of urbs, it will be urbium. So if you want to say the inhabitants of the cities,
In coli urbium.
as you see here in this example, you're going to say urbium, and that means of the cities. Okay, you have that extra I there before the UM ending.